It is a story that we have reported many times, and it is a story that is never reported enough. Children traumatized by war. 6 years of violence and bloodshed have spawned a mental health crisis among Syria's smallest and most vulnerable. A report released by the charity organization Save the Children says the long-term exposure to war means that children are showing symptoms of what psychologists call toxic stress. Suicide and self-inflicted harm are often the result. Some kids have even stopped talking.
This orphanage in Turkey provides Syrian children with something rare. A sense of normality, away from the war. Ahmed is part of a generation traumatized by terror and violence. I'm afraid of blood, and I'm afraid to see a dead body, or someone who's been beheaded, or someone who's been shot dead with bullets. That's what I'm afraid of. Large parts of Syria look like this. These buildings were once homes. Children's bedrooms have been smashed to pieces. Bombing causes what Save the Children calls toxic stress. The organization says millions of children in Syria are exposed to such attacks. Even schools have been hit. Back in Turkey, child refugees receive some schooling. That's crucial for putting the past behind them and focusing on the future. But it's tough. My daughter would scream at night, and when we came here, she was wetting herself at times. It really upset me, and I felt that instead of growing up, she was becoming younger. She's forgotten everything she's learned. The things Razan has seen, one can only imagine. Her wishes reflect what happened around her at home and the horrors her family fled. I'd like to be alone and have nice things. I'd like to go out without someone kidnapping me, to have no fighters and no bombing. 3 million Syrian children who are younger than 6 years of age are thought to have experienced nothing but war. If peace comes to Syria, it will be inherited by a deeply damaged generation.
Well, I'm joined now by Maggie Schauer, one of the world's leading psychologists for traumatized children. She's director of the Center for Excellence for Psychotraumatology at the University of Constance in southern Germany. Dr. Schauer, it's good to have you on the show. You have seen children from war zones from Africa. You've seen them in the Balkans, in Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. How severe is the mental health plight of Syria's children?
Well, children suffer tremendously in any war zone, in any crisis area, but you see fear is contagious in the social community, and children depend a lot on their caregivers, on their parents, and even the parents are targets of fear and threat. So they have a hard time calming them down, and they have in their families domestic violence rising, which is another risk factor for the children. And so the caregiver can even get the source of stress. And we see in fact, a very vulnerable situation for the children, and their symptoms are rising, as the report says.
Yeah, and this report is the first mental health survey that's been conducted since the war began for all of Syria. I mean, as a child psychologist, do you see Syria being able to provide its children with the mental health attention that they need now?
Yeah, it's an interesting point. In the report itself, it says that for 1 million people, there is only one psychiatrist or psychotherapist, which is a tremendous lack of support for mental health and psychosocial problems. So there is no way currently in the acute crisis situation to support these children.
You helped develop a treatment for traumatized children, which is known as narrative exposure therapy. Would it be a solution in the short term for Syria's traumatized children?
Yes, we have applied exposure therapy, narrative exposure therapy in refugee camps, different refugee camps, after the people have fled from war situations. In the acute emergency situation, you wouldn't apply an exposure treatment. You want to bring down the heart rate, you want to calm down people. That's the most important thing. So you only wait for symptoms to appear that you want to treat. In the acute situation, the most important thing is safety.
And Dr. Schauer, even if you were able to begin treating all of the children today in Syria, would it be realistic to talk about these children ever growing up to become healthy adults?
It's a good question. The idea is that people think, they seem to believe that children grow out of this, but evidence doesn't support that. Children who have been the target of threat and violence in their childhood and suffer from problems already in their childhood, they will be adults who are at high risk of somatic and psychological problems.
I was just going to interrupt, if I could. These adults who were children of war, this toxic stress that we read about in the report, can toxic stress turn these children into future toxic parents? I mean, will they give, these horrible experiences, will they give that on to the next generation?
Yes, we have data showing that parents suffering or people suffering from trauma spectrum disorders, they are not ideal caregivers if they didn't receive any treatment, because they're more impulsive, they can tolerate less stress. Children are stressors to their parents. They are very irritable, so they act out more easily. And actually, children often suffer from PTSD when their parents did.
Yeah, it's a terrible story from any side you report it, that's for sure. Dr. Maggie Schauer, Director of the Center for Excellence for Psychotraumatology in Constance in southern Germany. Dr. Schauer, thank you very much. We appreciate your insight.